Hi, everybody. It's Craig and Arun back with your Week 1 Saturday picks. That's Saturday the 30th, right? Saturday the 30th of August. We've already covered the Thursday and Friday games, so if you click to the end of the video, you'll also you can get Thursday and Friday games if you like. So we're going to be covering every game here in college football in the NFL, so make sure you stay tuned. And don't forget about that promo code. We got a promo code every week for you, 10% off. This is good on everything, weekly, daily, or the full season pass. You get 10% off. Use that promo code TRAPBOY. All right, let's get right to all your winners. Make sure you get – oh, by the way, $45 is already marked down $50 this week for the week pass for college football or for all football. So make sure you get both of us for $90. So make sure and use that promo code to get 10% off of that. So make sure you get in on it. Okay, let's start. Merrimack at Kent State, noon game here on the 30th. Kent State is a slight favorite, minus 6.5, total 50.5. What do you like here?
Well, the Merrimack Warriors. By the way, I've been waiting for this game all year long. This is the game that I've been waiting for. That is a joke for you out there before you hit us up on social media. So Merrimack was an FCS team. They went 5-6, right? They're under second-year coach Mike Gennady. And they returned a pretty good quarterback. He threw for 1,100 yards. He still got his primary receivers. Kent State, of course, is a very good team who in the past has been a good team and where my Lord and Savior Nick Saban used to be, used to play for. So I'm a huge fan of Kent State for that reason, because without him, there would be no Nick Saban, who is my Lord and Savior. So look, this team went 0-12 last season, right? They do have a transfer from Fordham who came over, who brings a lot of experience. So Kent State comes in as a 6.5 point favorite. It's interesting here. I think what you can expect is Merrimack actually is going to get up for this game. I think the strengths of both these teams is going to be the offense. It's certainly not going to be the defense. And I think with Merrimack possibly being an active dog, I think with Kent State wanting to improve from last year's dismal performance as well, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if this game probably goes over the posted total here. And so I like the over between Merrimack and Kent State. Now moving on here, to Ball State versus Purdue. Ball State comes in as an 18.5 point dog with 35% of the public backing them on a total of 50.5. Who do you like, Craig?
Hard to like a whole lot about Purdue other than, Odom comes over from, of course, what he did at UNLV. I mean, it was pretty instant success what he had at UNLV. Do not expect that at Purdue. You're in the Big Ten now. It's a lot different recruiting against the powerhouse. That is the Big Ten. I think this is a way overreaction with this number. I thought the Purdue should be favored by like 13.5 to 14. So you're getting an extra 4 here. I know Ball State wasn't world beaters last year, but neither was Purdue. I'm going to take Ball State in all the points. I just think I love Coach Odom. I mean, he made me tons of money at UNLV the last few years. But this is just getting a little ahead of, over the skis, as they say. Give me Ball State plus 16.5. Next new game we have here for Saturday, Mississippi State's traveling on the road. SEC doesn't usually travel to a small school like Southern Miss, but that's the case. Minus 12.5 for Mississippi State, total 61. What do you like here, I see?
Yeah, this should be interesting. I mean, these two teams met back in 2023 with Mississippi State winning 41-20, right? Southern Miss is going to be excited about this game, man. Coming in as a 12.5 point dog. Notice the total is so high at 61 as well, right? Which can seem high. But you have Mississippi State here with head coach Jeff Lebby. He's coming in his second season. Mississippi State had a 2-10 record last year. Obviously, they struggled. Southern Miss under Coach Huff comes in his second tenure with the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. So he went 5-7. So both these teams had losing seasons last year. Mississippi State will have Taylor leading this team as the quarterback. Defensively, you return Brandon Jennings, which isn't bad. Southern Miss here, they didn't really have a great offensive, prowess last season with 19 touchdowns. Actually, I should say that Braylon Braxton had 19 touchdowns, but he also rushed for 610 yards too. Look, this game, I actually think Southern Miss is better than people are giving them credit for. I think Southern Miss will get up for this game. They do, return decent talent as well. So I actually like Southern Miss to hang tough here. And I also like the over here in this game too. I think the public is wrong. Taking, 58% of the public is taking the under here. And I think Lebby has a lot to prove. Lebby needs to blow this team out. And I will tell you this about Mississippi State. They only lost 14-26 to Ole Miss last game. They did put up 20 points against Missouri, 45 against Massachusetts. So they were able to score last year. They just couldn't play any defense, giving up 58 to Arkansas. I really like the over in this game between Mississippi State and Southern Miss. A lot of juice in this game. Greg, Florida Atlantic is facing Maryland. Florida Atlantic coming in as a 14.5 point dog. 73% of the public riding the jockstrap of Maryland here on a total of 40 or a total of 59.5. Who do you like?
Yeah, I mean, interesting game, I think, here, because Maryland was the only coach I've heard that said that the NIL affected his team last year. He said he lost his team because the turmoil for the NIL, who makes what, lost his team, Maryland. That was a big statement from Maryland. I think that maybe helps the team that, you address the problem and you get to it. And FAU, obviously, new coach here. I just think it's a lot of moving parts there. I just think there's a better spot for Maryland. And I think anytime you see a 14.5 that they're trying to get you to bet the underdog here, they're giving that extra half a point. You're getting the hook. I'm not falling for it. I'm taking Maryland minus the points here. I also like them in the first half. If you like to play first half bets, like 7.5 as well. Next game we're looking at Duquesne and Pitt, the Battle of Pittsburgh. If you don't know, Duquesne is located very, very close to Pittsburgh. You can walk to it. Pitt's favored by 37.5, total 55.5 here. What do you like?
Yeah, this is interesting. These two teams obviously haven't met since 1939, by the way, which is a long time ago. But Pittsburgh rolls into this game here. I want to mention to you about Pittsburgh. This is a team that lost to Toledo 46-48 in overtime in the bowl game. And that obviously Pittsburgh did not close last season well at all. If you remember, they lost to SMU, they lost to Virginia, they lost to Clemson, they lost to Louisville, they lost to Boston College. And that, was terrible. This is a game where I think that, Coach Pat, they really need to focus and do well in this game. I know it sounds silly because it's early in the season, because they will lead off with Duquesne and then Central Michigan, right? And then you have a Duquesne team that has a coach that's been around forever. He's been around for 19 years at this point. And I think this is a game that Pittsburgh needs to cover. I do. They return quite a bit of talent on the defensive side of the ball as well. Duquesne does return 6 offensive starters, but I wouldn't say that's like amazing. But Pittsburgh is far superior talent. I actually think Pittsburgh needs to win and win by a wide margin. So I will back Pittsburgh. I will tell you this: the home opener for Pittsburgh, if you remember, the previous year was Kent State, and they won 55-24 in that game. They were 24-point chalk, so they look to cover when they can. I'm going to back Pittsburgh here. All right, moving on here. The next contest, if my internet can come up here, VMI Virginia Military Institute is facing Navy. I guess we can call it the battle of some sort of battle of the forces. VMI, I don't want anybody from VMI messaging us. So VMI facing Navy here. I'll tell you what's fascinating about this game, Craig. Maybe you can explain it to people. You have Navy coming as a 41.5 point favorite on a 50.5 total. That's 80% of the point total before the game starts. What do you like?
I think you got to play under here. I think Navy is going to take it easy on them. I just think though. I think they could win, 38-0, 35-0. Horvath, I believe, returning starter here for Navy. Navy I had 2 big plays last year, 7-unit plays on. They won both of them for me. I thought Navy was a great bet last year. And I think this year they're going to be the similar, but I think this one, just too many points. I would take the under instead of taking a side in this one. I just think this is going to be one-sided, and that is a understatement of understatements.
Hey everybody, take a moment and be sure to like and subscribe this video and put in the comment section the games that you like for this weekend.
Next game, Northwestern and Tulane, a noon game here. Tulane, I'm shocked as a favorite. I thought it would be a pick 'em. -6, total 45.5. What do you like here?
Well, it did shock me because Northwestern coming in as only a 6-point dog. But if you remember, Northwestern actually, I thought, closed pretty well. And they actually, first of all, these two teams have never met either. So that was kind of surprising. And Northwestern, I thought with their coaching staff, they didn't play that bad. They lost to Illinois by 10, which is still impressive. Yeah, they got routed by Michigan. Now they beat Purdue. Now they'll have an opportunity to kind of catch their breath a little bit here to see how they can do. Northwestern, Coach David Burns enters the second season. So he gets his feet a little bit wet too. Tulane, of course, brings Joe Summerall, who is in his first year. I'm not as high on Joe Summerall as well. Tulane does bring in Jake Retzlaff, right? He's a transfer from BYU. He's supposed to start here. Northwestern, of course, gets Preston Stone, a transfer from SMU. Is expected to lead the offense here. They also get to keep their linebacker too. I feel like Northwestern is sort of like a Georgia Tech JV team, sort of like, that people are there for the education, but those kids stay a lot longer. So you get that continuation kind of thing. And, look, Tulane, I actually like Northwestern here. I think the amount of competition that they play, I think the fact that Tulane is in their second year of a coach who I thought they played really impressive against Illinois. I mean, I was really impressed with that. If you remember, they only lost to Ohio State 7-31. Give me the 6 points here. I'm taking Northwestern against Tulane. Syracuse here against the SEC. As you know, I'm an SEC homer, but I'm always willing to criticize the SEC if I feel like we're not doing well. Syracuse comes in as a 14-point dog on that feisty coach that they have, total of 51. Craig, who do you like with 74% of the public riding the Vols?
Yeah, that tells you should probably be paying attention to the underdog. Syracuse had a way better the season than I thought they would last year. It's a lot because Tennessee last year, they were unbelievable early, especially outside of conference, and then just kind of folded late. They just never really lived up to that early season hype they had. Obviously, that you had a little, with Nico, asking for more money and basically being told, get out. He's at UCLA now. I think that maybe that distraction being gone, because anytime you hear that news of guys making $2 million, $2.5 million, like I think it can have a little resentment in the locker room. I think that should help Tennessee early on. It's still a ton of points here, but I got to trust what Heupel's done early in the season. I think he's a tough to prepare for because his offenses are usually pretty high scoring. I would slightly favor Tennessee here. This one's really close, though. Not going to make one of my premium cards for the weekend, just FYI. Next game, this is the granddaddy of them all for opening weekend. Number 1, Texas. Number 2 or 3, Ohio State, depending on what bowl or which rankings you pay attention to. Ohio State's a 2.5-point favorite. Total of 48. Manning, versus Ryan Day and company. What do you like here?
Well, Ohio State won 28-14 last year, right? And so keep that in mind. I've kind of gone back and forth on this, but I think it's very funny that everybody is, I want to take the under, but I also think last year's game went to the under. I was surprised that only 56% of the public took the over in this game. I would have expected a lot more to take the over. I think they look at that 28-14. I actually I think Texas will win. So I'm going to back Texas here. It is really, really hard to go against Ohio State at Ohio State because they get a lot of phantom calls and a lot of phantom stuff happens. So, but I will tell you this. I think that it is time. First of all, can you believe that you have a coach in Ohio State here who's been there, his 8th season? Ryan Day has survived 8 years in Ohio State, and I think it's easy to forget that. Sarkisian enters his 4th year, right? Arch is, obviously highly recruited as well. Ryan Wingo is in that receiving core for Texas. But I think, Arch waiting behind, I think it speaks to his character too. I think the fact that he waited in the wings, he learned the offense. He didn't rush off to somebody else. And I think if you looked at a lot of the TikToks and Reels, you'll see that Arch hangs out with his players in really questionable parts of the town. But he does it not for fandom or fame. He does it because he really likes his guys. He'll go hang out at the barbershop. He'll go throw the football. And he's been doing it for months and months without any sort of fanfare, which shows the kind of quality person he is. I'm telling you, these guys will play for Arch Manning. They will. And I think that's why whoever is going to draft Arch is so lucky because they're going to play for this guy. And he comes from that. And Craig and I have talked about it offline. It's really funny because Peyton was brilliant. Eli was brilliant. And of course, the third brother who was not athletically inclined ends up giving birth to Arch, who now is the only one who's, I don't know, maybe Peyton's kid will come along too, but Arch has been phenomenal. So for all these reasons, I think Texas with the revenge, Texas with Arch and these guys getting up to play, there's a lot of steam and pressure off of Ohio State. Ryan Day knows even if he loses this game, he's going to be fine. Give me Texas. I think this means a lot more to Texas, who has not won a title in a long time. Toledo facing Kentucky here, Craig, at the 12:45 hour on a total of 47.5. Kentucky coming in as a 9.5-point favorite. Bob Stoops is going somewhere to A&M. Then Bob Stoops wasn't. Who do you like, Craig?
Yeah, I think not enough people give Jason Candle credit. He's going in his 10th year at Toledo. He's had some pretty daggone good teams there. Put a couple guys in the NFL as well. He's just a solid program. He didn't finish the last year as they probably won it. They just kind of faltered. I believe it was Akron they lost to, which was, they were a big, almost 10-point favorite in that one. But they did beat Pitt in the bowl game, even though Pitt played, mostly their, you know how that is. Most guys didn't play, but still, you still beat a, Power 4 conference team. I think that confidence, plus this is a Kentucky team that just went 1-6 their last 7 games. And I know they were covering some of those games, but that's because they were a big underdog. As a favorite here, I just think that's asking a little much for Kentucky to favor. I always lean towards underdogs week 1, especially when you see a Power 5 or 4 now only at home less than 10 points. That should tell you this is a live underdog. You got to listen to what the odds are saying sometimes. Take Toledo plus the 9.5. Don't forget, also check out our YouTube premium content here at YouTube. We have 3 different levels. Level 1 is $4.99. You get Lenny video 4 or 5 times a week, plus early access to all these football videos we do, which can't beat that. Level 2 is $19.99. That's Indian Cowboy, and that gets level 1. And then level 3, you get first 2 levels, plus level 3, you get one of my expert picks every day, plus 2 other experts at Docs. About a $2,700 value. Click the link to get in on this. You don't want to miss out. Next game, another team out of Pittsburgh, but they're traveling a little. It's not very far. I think it's probably an hour-and-a-half drive to West Virginia. West Virginia hosting Robert Morris here. West Virginia's favored by 38.5, total 55.5. Coach Rodriguez back at where he really kind of cut his teeth into coaching and became a big name. What do you like here?
It is so funny because I'm an Alabama diehard homer, and there was all that talk that Rich Rod was going to come to Alabama, and then he used Alabama to leverage him to go to somewhere else. You know what I mean? And I think that's really, really funny. So Rich Rod, the circle, gets full circled here, and he goes back to West Virginia. And it'll be very similar to the Greg Schiano story. He'll end up spending the rest of his life there. I don't see him moving out. So what ends up happening, by the way, if you don't know, Robert Morris, I believe, is in where? Pennsylvania?
Pittsburgh, yeah.
Pittsburgh, yeah. So it's in the state of Pennsylvania here. I like West Virginia here. I think, West Virginia needs some excitement. They need to come back into prominence, and Rich Rod gets to be the hero, which he'll love. You combine the fact that West Virginia, I will give them this. They did beat North Carolina to close the year. They beat Baylor. They beat Cincinnati. They beat BYU and UCF. They actually played quite well coming in here. But with Rich Rod, with his opening sort of thing here to the fans, and Robert Morris also has a first-year coach in Bernard Clark, too. It might take him a little while to lead the Colonials back into some sort of relevance here. West Virginia returns a lot of good starters. Nico Markiel, right? They returned 3 good wide receivers. I'm going to back West Virginia here as Rich Rod comes in and probably wins by 40 points or more. All right, moving on here. We get to talk about Fordham here, hooking up against Boston College. Boston College, similar favor to West Virginia, actually. 37.5 point favor on a total of 53.5. Who do you like, Craig?
I'm not going to mess a lot of time up here for you guys. Under. Just play the under in this game. I think BC gets up early. They got a lot of bigger fish to fry. They do not have a lot of depth, especially proven depth. So I think they'll probably try to get their second and third units in as early as possible just to grab some depth. And so I think you take the under in this one and just call it a day. Next game, another game that maybe is a forgotten game, 2:00 game, Connecticut, favored by 25.5, total 51.5. What do you like here, IC?
Interesting. Central Connecticut facing Connecticut here. You have a Connecticut. These two teams played back in 2022, and Connecticut won 28-3. I actually, when I first saw this game, I actually thought the under 2. But then again, I looked a little closer, and Central Connecticut. Why is this game only 22.5? Right? Maybe Central Connecticut will show up here. I mean, if you're gonna put West Virginia and Robert Morris at 38.5, or if you're going to put BC and Fordham at 37.5, why not this to be like closer to 29.5? Why is this the way that it is? And if you take a look here, Central Connecticut, they won a Northeast Conference title. I know, Craig, you really wanted to win a Northeast Conference title in your previous berth, but they went 7-6 last year. Jim Moore, of course, went 9-4 at the Fenway Bowl when he won against North Carolina as well. Central Connecticut, they bring back a lot of talent as well. And I think that UConn obviously returns back a couple of starters too. I'm going to surprise you. I'm going to take Central Connecticut here. I'm going to take Central Connecticut to hang tough, and I think they end up losing this game by about 24 points on a total, and obviously 25.5 point dog. Just come back and tell me if I was right about Central Connecticut or not. Old Dominion versus Indiana here. Old Dominion is a 23.5 point dog against Indiana. Indiana, of course, had that fairy tale season, if you will, last year. Did really, really well. And, of course, their coach was talking smack with everybody. I'm not trying to be political here, but similar to how Trump talks smack or Gavin Newsom talks smack, that Indiana coach was loving life, man. He was talking smack on everybody, and it was awesome to watch. Total of 54.5, Craig. Who do you like?
Yeah, as they say, he says, Google me when he says how good his record is. And the guy has won everywhere he's ever been. Doesn't matter the level of football. I do think they're going to be good again this year. And when I say good in Indiana, that means they're going to go to a bowl game. They're not going to the playoffs this year. They don't have quite as easy schedule and doesn't quite fall that way. But Kurt Cignetti is a winner. He got the transfer from California, I believe. I think it's the Mendoza kid. I do like what he got there. I think they're going to be fine on offense. I just think the defense is probably going to struggle a little bit this year. So for that reason, I think line is probably an extra couple points because Indiana was a betting darling last year. So a lot of people probably remember what they were last year. I'm going to take Old Dominion plus the 23.5. I think Indiana dominates, but you can dominate and still win by 20, 21 points. Give me the 23.5. Maybe wait till game time and maybe get it or buy the hook and get it at 24. Next game, Battle of Kentucky. Eastern Kentucky at Louisville. Louisville, big favorite here. 38.5 with Brom and company, total of 56.5. What do you like here?
Well, yeah, I mean, you have a Louisville team that Jeff Brom enters his third season as the coach there. Louisville beat Washington, if you remember, right, in the bowl game, 35-34. They beat Kentucky 41-14 as well. I mean, that's impressive. These two teams haven't met in 2021. All right, look, I've been to Kentucky several times, okay? And as you know, I'm sort of a semi-pro tennis player as well. So I've been out there, and I can tell you, and I know a lot of people from Kentucky, they definitely don't want anything close to Eastern Kentucky. Okay. They pride themselves being Louisville. They pride themselves on anything Louisville. And if you beat like Eastern Kentucky by 14 points, you will hear smack from Eastern Kentucky. Like, we only beat you, you only beat us by 2 touchdowns, etc. So I think Brom knows this and understands this. And I like Kentucky to cover the big spread here. And you better believe, or I like Louisville to cover the big spread here. And you better believe all these guys are going to be betting on this game in Louisville too. But Eastern Kentucky, Walt Wells here had them at 8-5 the previous year. Brom tries to increase on his last year's success as well. I mean, could Eastern Kentucky cover? Yes, but it's only because Louisville is going to try to cover this game. And I think that's the reason why I'm going to back Louisville here against Eastern Kentucky. All right, Craig, Bucknell versus Air Force. And Bucknell does have a football team, not to be confused with their basketball team, which is actually pretty decent from time to time. Air Force coming in as a 30.5 point favorite on a total of 55.5. Who do you like, Craig?
Remember, Air Force struggled early last year and finished strong. Coach Calhoun, I've been there like almost 20 years now. The guy is just, the model of consistency. And when you have to go play at Air Force, very tough place to play. Thin air and everything. I think this is a tough spot for Bucknell. I probably would take Air Force in the first half. I think that's the safer play if you want to play Air Force. Let's play Air Force minus, I think it's 16.5 in the first half. So let's lay that 16.5 in the first half. I think that's safer than playing the full game. Maybe they put the backups in late. All right, your Alabama Crimson Tide at Florida State. Alabama, big favorite by 13.5, total 50.5. Second year after Nick Saban's gone. Is this the year they, put it back together?
Well, if you remember, I was at the Alabama at Georgia game when Saban, I think, was in year 2. I don't remember if it was year 2 or year 3, but that was the year they had just lost to Utah in the bowl game, right? And then it was year 2 or year 3, and then Georgia dressed in all black, and then Alabama went in there and just beat the snot out of them, right? So I think, and Alabama fans have a really good memory. Here's what I'll tell you about all my crew about Alabama. You guys think that Alabama is like the state that's like, kind of slow or whatever. Alabama people are brilliant. They just want you to feel better about yourself, which is the reason why they let you, they talk a little slow or whatever. But Alabama people are brilliant. And I'm telling you, they have a long memory about Alabama football history. And I think Alabama gets up for this game. Alabama understands what is at stake here. And, you got to give the Alabama faithful some credit for having faith in DeBoer. I thought DeBoer did great in his first season. I really did. I thought he was phenomenal his first year. He needs to bring his guys in, which is a different type of guy than Nick Saban brings in, which is fine. Give him some time. But I like Alabama here. I'm not even messing with the total. I will tell you this. Florida State had a horrible year last year, and I think they'll have a better year this year, but I'm not a huge fan of their coaching staff either. You know what I mean? I just don't think they develop players as well. And Alabama has had a big offseason. Guys have been throwing up all offseason long. So I'm going to back Alabama here.
Everybody, don't forget, use that promo code TRAPPBOY, TRAPPBOY, to save 10% off on the full season passes, the weekly, or even the daily. And the weekly passes are already 50% off, just $45 to get the football pass for this week.
All right. Holy Cross against Northern Illinois. And it might surprise you, Craig, but Holy Cross is only a 10.5 point dog here. Who do you like in this game?
Yeah, I love this NIU program. I've made so much money betting NIU going all the way back when they played in what was the Orange Bowl that year when they had that great season. But Hammond, I believe, is the coach. Yeah, Thomas Hammock. He's one of those guys that's easy to root for. Like, he's pretty honest in his press conferences and kind of wears his heart on his sleeve kind of thing. And I think he gets a lot from his players that way. But I think this is a tough spot. I think Holy Cross is a live underdog. The line tells you that. I think Holy Cross is going to put up a bunch of points. Let's take the over in this one. If I was playing the side, I definitely would be on Holy Cross. This NIU defense, I think, is going to struggle a little bit this year. But I do think they'll score their fair share. I was thinking that both teams get into the high 20s, so get us an over here, over 51.5. Next game, Nevada at Penn State. Penn State couldn't be any more expectations. A lot of people. It's championship or bust for Franklin and company. Total of 56.5. Line of minus 44 for Penn State. What do you like?
Only 44? Wow. Yeah. I will tell you this. Nevada, by the way, returns only one starter on defense. Okay, so that's probably not going to bode well for them as well. Penn State, of course, this is the year that they've had the most amount of expectations on them, right? And the line sits at 44.5. The public obviously taking Nevada. They're like, well, why not? I mean, that's a lot of points, and Nevada's a state, for God's sakes, so they must have some sort of talent, except they only have one defensive player coming back. Penn State, of course, Franklin enters his 12th year. He's posted 100 wins now over at Penn State. Nevada returns a 3-10 team here. I like either the over in this game or I like Penn State. And I think that I just think they're going to score so many points, man, because Nevada just does not have any defensive talent really returning back. And the only way they're going to be able to keep up is with their offense, where they have a few more starters. I hate to be a homer here, but I'm going to lean on Penn State, which actually is not really that much of a homerish thing because public is on Nevada. I'm going to lean on Penn State here. I actually think Penn State's second and third string are actually quite talented too. So they're not going to stop scoring points here. I lean on Penn State and I lean on the over. Marshall, a great movie, 39.5 point underdog against Georgia. Total of 55.5. What do you think, Craig?
It'd be a tough year for Marshall. Even in a league that's, usually pretty balanced, as, even the top teams aren't that much better than it's, Tony Gibson was in a tough spot because, last year's coach was, you win the league and they don't renew his contract. Like, he had to leave. I mean, to me, that it scratches your head. Maybe there's something more that we didn't, weren't privy to, but the players' exodus, like that happens when coaches leave, and there were not a lot coming back. I love this Georgia team. I think this Georgia team is going to give your Alabama team a lot of issues this year. I think Alabama will probably be slightly less than I think Georgia's my pick to win the national championship, FYI. So if you like that, I think you take I think you lay the 39.5. I just think Kirby Smart and company. I love when teams they get up for big games. This isn't a big game, but his teams always do. Give me Georgia here. Lay the big number. I can't believe I'm saying 39.5. It's not like I'm going to put this on my full betting card for everybody. But if you're asking me who I'd take, I would take Georgia minus the 39.5. 3:30 game. We got UMass at home here. Welcome them in. Temple favored by 2.5. Total 48. This is a pretty even matchup, and the line says so. What do you like here?
Yeah, both of them feature first-year coaches, right? Casey Keeler. So, and then you have UMass here with Coach Joe coming in here. Temple actually had Evan Simon, who threw for 2,000 yards last year, so they weren't that bad at all. I think Temple has a little bit more consistency coming in, whereas UMass has a decent number of time, but I think it's going to take them a little bit of time. The only thing I don't like is 66% of the public is on Temple. But I will tell you this about Temple. They beat Florida Atlantic last year. They only lost North Texas by a touchdown. This is a team that played they played Oklahoma and got throttled 3-51 or played Navy, etc. This game can go either way. And honestly, I would have liked to have seen this total come out a little bit higher, but it didn't. And then you have UMass coming in with a coach that's looking to make a mark. But I think the correct side here is Temple. But the only thing that worries me, Craig, is UMass played really well to close out the year. They barely lost to Liberty. They lost to Georgia 21-59, which isn't bad. They lost to Connecticut 42-47. They closed out really, really well. And many of those guys stayed back. Their coach held, and I think with this total, I think as I think about this game more and more, the fact that this total is as low as it is, I think favors UMass, and it's a decent public fade. I'm going to switch I'm going to switch here. I'm going to take UMass plus the 2.5 because I think the reason why the line is 2.5 is because this game would be a rare situation where it'll go underdog and under because UMass is about controlling that defensive prowess. So I'm going to go with UMass plus the 2.5 here. South Dakota, interesting game against Iowa State on a total of 47.5, and Iowa State is favored by 14.5 points. Who do you like, Craig?
Jump on South Dakota. Last year, they only lost to Wisconsin by 14. That was like a very close game, even closer than what the final score suggests. And, they 12 wins last year? No, 12-3 last year, this team finished. They do have a new coach, but it was the defensive coordinator from last year. So I do like that. Travis Johnson is the new coach. And remember, Iowa State couldn't have had a bigger win. They played in Dublin on Saturday last week. Now they had to travel back and play in the same week. That is a jet lag. They're just not like guys in the NFL that are used to traveling week in, week out. This is not that. I think this is a huge letdown spot and a good South Dakota team. That spells trouble. Take the 14.5. I think this one is could be like one of those Appalachian State type games against Michigan way back where it's the perfect scenario here for South Dakota to keep this really close. Next game, battle of, Liberty and Maine. That's like a law firm, it sounds like. Liberty favored by 25.5, total 52.5. What do you like in this law firm matchup?
Well, in this law firm matchup, I will tell you that Liberty did go to a bowl game last year, of course, right? They lost 7-26, and in general, they have a pretty good program. This is a team that lost to Houston State 18-20, then lost to Buffalo 7-26. So did lose the last two games coming into this contest. So keep that in mind. You have a main team that has a coach that Jordan Stevens that returns in his fourth season. He's had a pretty decent, consistent coaching staff as well. I thought Jamie Chadwell did pretty well in his last year. This game, again, could go either way. It does seem like it is quite a bit of a line here at 25.5, but I think that with Liberty losing their last two games, and Liberty Sports expects a certain amount too. Remember, Liberty had Hugh Freeze there for a while, right? So they expect a certain quality of winning too. So with back-to-back losses, I don't think Liberty lost 3 straight all last year. They did not. So I think that this is a game that they kind of have to win for the faithful. I'm going to back Liberty here. Montana State versus Oregon. Montana State is a 27.5 point dog, which kind of seems low against Oregon as a 27.5 point favorite, total of 56.5. Who do you like here, Craig?
Coach Lanning has obviously he beat Ohio State last year. That was a big one. Then ended up losing to them in the playoffs. Thought that was a tough matchup. They had to, rematch a team that you earned that early. But hey, it is, you gotta win 4 games or 3 games to win the national championship no matter what. So I guess it doesn't matter as much when you play them. But I think early in the season, Oregon's a tough team to prepare for. They just have so much talent. And even their second and third unit, I think are going to have edges in this one. So I think Oregon pours it on. I would lay the 27.5 in this one. Next game, Alabama A&M at Arkansas. Arkansas, big favorite, 46.5, total 61.5. What do you like here?
I like Arkansas. If you remember when Arkansas faced Pine Bluff last year as the opener, they were 50.5 point favorites. You remember what the score that was? 70-0. Okay, so keep that in mind. And they had Oklahoma State the next game, but it didn't matter. They weren't looking ahead too. And Alabama A&M's coach enters his 6th year. He brings some experience there too. Sam Pittman, they didn't have a great year last year. But they did end the season on a positive note. They beat Texas Tech as a 3.5 point dog, mind you, which was a big win for them. And quarterback Taylor Green comes back for a second year. So, under Bobby Petrino's offense. And I know that's easy to forget that Petrino is back over there. And Petrino is going to be, he's going to be in that position for the rest of his life, cash and check, similar to Schiano or similar to our West Virginia coach and Rich Rod. It's amazing what people firm up where they want. They eventually find happiness at 55, where they eventually plant their roots somewhere. And, when you put that all into perspective, I got to go with Arkansas here, man. By the way, Arkansas returns 12 offensive starters and 17 defensive starters. Okay. So they return some serious talent here. Give me the Razor back. And Craig, on the next show, I expect you to bring a Razor back and for show and tell for us. Okay. As it relates to our next game, as my computer pulls it up here, because I'm sure my children are watching some sort of something downstairs. All right, so Chattanooga, Memphis, you have a Tennessee contest here, basically. Chattanooga is facing Memphis here. What line do you see over there?
Memphis is favored by 27.5, total 55.5. Interesting game.
I will tell you this real fast. Yes, 27.5 and a total of 55.5. And the last time, I think these two teams met each other. The last time these two teams met each other was never. So that should be interesting too. A game in Tennessee. Who do you like, Craig?
I mean, I love what Memphis has done. Silverfield, he took over a tough spot. Norvell, went over to, of course, Florida State, and they were rolling at the time. So every time you try to keep it going, it's not as easy as people think, because, some of these guys follow that coach. And then, of course, some go to the NFL or just graduate. So he's kept it going here. I like what he's done with this program. It's a little like, do you want to rub it into your, like a team in your state that's playing for a paycheck? That's what Chattanooga's here for. So I would take Memphis in the first half. I think it's in that 14.5 range, 14.5, depending on where you look at as far as the first half line. That's what I would take, because I think they'll get up early, and then the second half they'll be like, hey, we're going to play our 2, 3s, and 4s and not blow out Chattanooga in this spot. So I think that's what will happen in this battle of, I won't say battle of Tennessee, but of two teams from Tennessee.
Take a moment and be sure to like and subscribe this video and put in the comment section the games that you like for this weekend.
Next game, we got Albany at Iowa. Iowa's big favorite, total of 50.5. Iowa's favored by 38.5. What do you like here?
Yeah, I mean, well, when Iowa opened up against Illinois State, they were 21-point favorites, and they won 40-0. They got a great defense. Lost in Missouri 24-27 at the end of last year. Albany's not like a terrible team at all. I want you to keep in mind that Albany does have a new coach in Jared Ambrose. He comes in for his first year. Iowa, of course, has coach Kirk Ferentz, who's been there forever. But Albany, brings Miles Burkett, that Wisconsin transfer, right? The former Gatorade Player of the Year. They bring back some pretty decent talent in running backs. The question is, can they score? But I think they can. You have, Iowa's getting the transfer from South Dakota State, Mark Gronowski. So, Iowa returns 13 starters, 6 on offense, 5 on defense, which is decent. The Great Danes return a decent number of talent on both sides of the ball, a total of 50.5. And that can kind of seem like a high total for an Iowa game, and I think that is correct. So I think what will happen here is either you got to take Albany or you got to take the over. And I like the over because Albany's strength is their offense, and I'm going to take the over in this game. Craig, Illinois State facing Oklahoma here on a total of 60.5. Oklahoma is a 36.5-point favorite. Who do you like over here?
Not a good year last year for Venables and company. And in fact, I think Venables very possibly could get let go after this year. It's a tough, winning in the SEC is not, if these teams wanted to, Texas then went to go to the Big 12, well, good luck. Texas has had good success. Oklahoma, not so much. I think it's going to be another down year, but I do think in this matchup, they just have too much. I think Oklahoma, they want to try to prove to their fans like we're back. I don't think they're calling the dogs off. 36.5, give me 40.5, doesn't matter. I think they win, name your score type, 49-7 type, 49-6 type game. Let's take Oklahoma with the big number. Next game, Coastal Carolina at Virginia. One of my favorite teams to bet the last 3 or 4 years has been Coastal Carolina. Been very good to me. Virginia's favored by 12, though, total of 58. What do you like?
Well, Coastal Carolina has a new coach in Tim Beck, right, coming in here. These two teams faced each other last year with Virginia winning by about 20 points. But, of course, there's a new coach now in Coastal Carolina. And Virginia with Tony Elliott comes into this game, trying to improve on their season from last year, which wasn't that great. And Coastal Carolina returns their great quarterback, Ethan Vasco, and in a world where everybody just moves and transfers right away after a decent year, he stayed. So keep that in mind. So that's one good thing that Coach Beck did, which is keep him. They also returned top receiver Trey Taylor and Tucker as well, along with their running back Bennett. And then Virginia here with Chandler Morris, a transfer from North Texas, supposed to lead the offense. Coastal Carolina returns quite a bit of talent. Virginia, of course, has 6 on offense, 5 on defense coming back. I think that Coastal Carolina can hang tough in this game. I do. Coastal Carolina, again, they have revenge. They got a good coach here. They got a lot of skilled players coming back here. This is a team that got routed in their last bowl game, 15-44 as well. And it's a team that actually beat Jacksonville State. It's 55-27, beat Temple as well. I'm going to take the points here. I think Coastal Carolina probably keeps this game somewhat close here. Weber State versus James Madison here. Weber State coming in as a 26.5-point dog to James Madison. And the Dukes The Dukes have had a lot of success recently. And who do you like, Craig?
Yeah, I mean, when Signetti left, I thought Bob Chesney, the new coach, was going to struggle because, he just kind of had the magic. But they were better than I thought last year. And I think this is a very good James Madison team. I think they're going to be better than even what their, win totals and everything projection. I think it's a name the score type game. I think it's a get right game that they start the season out right. So give me the minus the 26.5 here with James Madison at home. Next game, North Alabama, Western Kentucky, no line there. So let's go to Southeast Missouri State at Arkansas State. Arkansas State favored by 10.5, total of 59.5. What do you like?
This is a low line for an Arkansas State team that usually is the picking ground for a lot of the new head coaches that come from many places. If you are a Division I Power 5 school, typically you go look at schools like Arkansas State where they have a lot of success and take a lot of pride in their program. This is a team that beat Bowling Green State 38-31 last year in their bowl game. It's a team that, but I'll tell you something. The first thing that I saw was why Southeast Missouri only a 10.5 point underdog. And if you take a closer look, you'll see that head coach Tom Matikewicz has been in there his 11th season with the Red Hawks, and the Arkansas State has Coach Butch Jones now in his 5th year. He's done a pretty good job there. Southeast Missouri State returns their quarterback, right? Defensively, they have a decent number of key important players coming back too, especially the linebacker core. Arkansas State will start a new quarterback here in Jalen Rayner as well. I think that the Southeast Missouri State actually brings a very experienced offense coming into this game. Okay. And I think that's important here. And I think that's the reason why they could cover. And I also like this game to go over the posted total. If you like size, I would take Southeast Missouri State. If you like totals, I would take the over. But I will tell you this about Arkansas State. Their opener last year against Central Arkansas was 34-31. Okay. And that game went over. And guess what that total was? 59. Guess what this total was? 59. So for that reason, I like the over in this game. Moving on to UTSA, Texas A&M. UTSA comes in, the Roadrunners, of course, coming in as a 24.5 point dog on the road here against Texas A&M with their coach, Coach Elko here in his 2nd year. Who do you like, Craig?
Yeah, I mean, it looked like Elko was like, oh my goodness, he's going to have the magic that he did at Duke. He started the season very impressive, I thought. And then 1-4, 1-3 as they finished. And it kind of like, it was like a turd in the punch bowl. It was like, oh, even though it was a winning season, it just like, it's that last bad taste in your mouth. And I think that bad taste carried over in the offseason. It sounds like these guys really were hitting it hard. And I think that I like this Texas A&M team. I think this Texas A&M team is going to be I think they could be a borderline playoff team. Really do. I think they're going to come down to the last 2 weeks having a shot if they win their last few games against obviously good competition in the SEC, that they'll end up there. And I think it starts good here. I think you lay the 24.5. I know UTSA, they've been one of the teams I've made a ton of money betting with, I see. But they lose a ridiculous amount. It's like their quarterback was there for felt like 7 years. That is tough to replace, especially against a super talented Texas A&M team. Let's lay the points with Texas A&M. I'm not taking the bait here. They give me the extra hook, no problem, minus 24.5.
Take a moment and take advantage of our promo code TRAPBOY, TRAPPBOY. It gives you 10% off the entire football season package, the weekly packages as well. And this week only, it's I think it's like $49 or $45 for the week. It's 50% off.
Next game, North Dakota. Of course, all the Dakotas are always good at football. And they're playing at Kansas State after Kansas State lost in Dublin last week. Minus 25.5, total 55.5. How about those fighting Johnsons? They're fighting on the field, fighting in the parking lot. The parents and the kids are.
Yeah, I'm going to surprise you here. I'm going to take North Dakota here. I think Kansas State's going to come in this game hungover. I think they're going to be really disappointed from losing that last game. And North Dakota is not a pushover. You have an Eric Schmidt coach at the helm here. I mean, Kansas State could be pissed at the world and try to rout this team too. Don't get me wrong. It won't be on my card, but I will on my top 5 football plays, back-to-back winning weeks, 2-0 in top plays. But I will tell you that North Dakota here returns Tommy Schuster here. He was good last year. He threw for 2,400 yards. He threw for 18 touchdowns, 5 picks. They got a good running back core with both Gavin and Sawyer back to, two-headed monster, if you will. Kansas State has a good quarterback, but obviously they lost in their last game too. And I think North Dakota here, they haven't played yet either. Keep that in mind. So they had that. They're fresh. They will be excited. And Kansas State, obviously coming off that loss, They're very disappointed. Kansas State also has a date with Army too. I'm not saying they're looking ahead, but I just don't know. This could be a bad game for Kansas State. I'm going to take a lean here on, the Fighting Johnsons of North Dakota. All right, moving on here. We get Morgan State hooking against Alabama, or South Alabama, I should say. South Alabama, the Jaguars coming in as a 28.5 point favorite on a total of 51.5. Who do you like, Craig?
This South Alabama defense, I think, is going to allow a lot of points this year. And I think that's going to make it really tough to cover this big number. And remember, Morgan State last year went to Ohio. I just happened to be at that game because when my Southeast Ohio house is only 45 minutes from OU, I went there, watched this, just happened to be watch the game because we went to meet one of my stepson's friends that goes there. And they lost 21-6, I think it was. So it was like well within the number. I think they do the similar, like they get beat by 3 touchdowns, but cover this one. Let's take Morgan State in this one. Next game, Nichola State at Troy. I'm sure you've been studying this one really hard. Troy minus 20.5, total 48.5. What do you like here?
Well, Troy is one of my, believe it or not, Troy is a team that, especially in college basketball, I follow Troy because they're from Alabama, right? And they bring in some decent talent, especially the people that don't go to Alabama or Auburn, right? Troy and South Alabama have a way of picking those people off. Nichola State, of course, here has a first-year coach, Tommy Rabacki, takes the helm. And, Troy obviously has Gerald Parker here, trying to build on their success from last year. Troy only a 20.5 point favorite, right? Nichola State brings Deuce Hogan. He's that graduate transfer from New Mexico State. And one of the things that I like about all these like shifting back and forth, one, it's kind of exciting. Two, it is kind of cool to see these guys get opportunities elsewhere. You're not like in indentured servitude to some coach who's going to just sit you back. And I know that puts more power back in the players, but why not? You know what I mean? Give them an opportunity. I mean, they've sacrificed since middle school and elementary school. Some of these kids taking hits to the head. Why not let them choose within the 4 years that they have? Where do they want to play? God forbid, as a libertarian, I want people to have freedom in their hands, So I am for that. I think if you're dumb enough to pay a quarterback $3 million before he's proven, that's just on you. And if you want to, make sure all your boosters go broke, that's on you too. So as it relates to Nichola State, they have running backs Tamaj Hoffman. They have DK Kensey, not bad. Troy, of course, has Jared Doge here, set to lead the offense, leading for the first time. You have Troy returning 6 on offense and 3 on defense. I think I like the over, but I was surprised the total was 48.5, and I wasn't happy to see this total at 48.5. I wanted to see it in the mid-50s, to be honest with you. I think this game can go, obviously either way, but I do think Nichola State having some talent, having their offense back, their defensive sketch, but I like Nichola State plus the 20.5 here. Charleston Southern here hooking up against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, of course, comes from they have a head coach here who comes from the Nick Saban coaching line. Of course, Georgia Tech has a head coach who comes from Brent Key, Nick Saban coaching line. As we all know, Nick Saban is my Lord and Savior, so everything somehow relates back to Nick Saban. Charleston Southern here is a 36.5 point dog facing Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt 36.5 point, obviously favorite on a total of 48.5. Who do you like, Craig?
Yeah, I actually think this Pavia kid from Vandy has an outside shot at being in the Heisman, not at winning the Heisman, but being there on selection day, because I think he has another big year and they pull up some upsets like they did last year. He's going to have to put up big numbers again if they're going to win. I think he does so. But they play Virginia Tech next week and South Carolina, I believe, the following week. So this is a game where I think they're going to try to get up early big. So I'm going to take them in the first half, lay the points in the first half. And then if I was playing the full game, I would actually play Charleston Southern because I think they're going to hey, let's rest everybody. They do not have the depth that some of these other SC schools have, and they make sure they don't get injured. So play them in the first half. If you want to play someone in the game, full game, play Charleston Southern. LSU at Clemson, probably the second best game of the weekend after that Ohio State-Texas game. Clemson favored by 4, total 57, with Dabo making the playoffs, kind of making a kind of scratch your head run to make the playoffs last year. A lot of people have this winning the ACC again this year. What do you like?
Yeah, I mean, LSU quarterback Darren Newsheimer now heading the offense here. They returned Logan Diggs, and they had a good season, at least to close it out, to beat Baylor, and then it routed them there. Clemson obviously has quarterback Klubnik, and it returns for his 3rd season, so which is kind of rare these days to have a player come back that many times. Tigers return a good portion of their roster, including guys on offense and defense. You have, I should say, the LSU Tigers. The Clemson Tigers have a strong returning class. 80% of their offense comes back, and 80% of their starters, including 85% of their offense, comes back. So that shows you something there. What's crazy is as soon as I saw LSU lost the opening season last game, right? Their opener last game last season. And then you have Clemson losing their opener to Georgia as well in their last game too. So I wanted to take LSU. I can't remember the last time Coach Kelly won a opening season game. Right, it's been disappointment. So I thought they would do better here. But I'm telling you, man, Clemson has a way of showing up. That Georgia game was an exception. I just don't think Coach Kelly does a good job of preparing his guys early on. And honestly, I thought Clemson was pretty impressive kind of early on against Texas. And of course, the wheels fell off too. I know a lot of people are back in LSU here, but I'm going to take a flyer here on Dabo. I think Dabo is the better coach with the talent that he has. And I'm going to take a flyer. I also think the total at 57 is very intriguing too. I wouldn't be surprised if this game goes over either. I'm going to take Clemson here, but I wouldn't be hanging my breath on it, let's say, because obviously you have an LSU team who's highly motivated from losing their opener last year. Hey, everybody, take a moment and be sure to like and subscribe this video and put in the comment section the games that you like for this weekend. All right, Arkansas Pine Bluff versus Texas Tech. There is no line there. New Mexico facing Michigan here. Michigan, I got to be honest with you, they've kind of owned my Alabama Crimson Tide of late. Obviously, but historically, Alabama, we've dominated pretty much everybody. So sharing is caring, Craig. We got to let other people win too once in a while, or they won't have a college football program. So we need to help other people have some success, or else they'll leave and they won't play. They'll take their ball and go home. So that's how I look at Michigan. Michigan 35-point favorite here against New Mexico. Total of 49. Who do you like, Craig?
They went out and bought themselves a quarterback, Michigan. But playing freshman quarterbacks does not usually tend to lead to super success. I think maybe this guy Underwood will be the guy, next year, the year after. I just think it's a lot to ask of a quarterback. We saw what Nico did at Tennessee as highly recruited as he was and highly paid. I think here you take the under in this game. I think it's all going to be about defense in the run game again with Michigan. It's going to be similar. They're still going to use that Harbaugh trademark. Run game, defense wins championships, mouth football. I think they play it. I think New Mexico will struggle to get 10 points in this one. So I would take the under 49 in what I think will be a pretty low-scoring game. UTEP and Utah State's the next game we're looking at. Utah State home team here, favored by 5.5, total 61. What do you like?
Do you remember who UTEP's head coach was? It is Scotty Walden, 34 years old, stud. Led
30.
Austin. What's that?
34.
Yeah, 34 years old. He led Austin Peay to an undefeated season last year. Okay, so he goes from Austin Peay over to UTEP, and then he's only a 5.5-point dog to Utah State. I'm telling you, UTEP's not going to be bad. And Utah State has Brock Mendenhall, who used to coach at New Mexico. Obviously, he's coming in for this first year for the Aggies. UTEP has redshirt sophomore Malachi Nelson here, who was the number 1 overall recruit class in 2023. So that's a pretty big deal, right? And then Utah State, of course, brings back a senior quarterback who's fine, but he's a senior at the end of the day. So if they were good, they would have been good, right? So he's been there for a while. And so I actually like UTEP here. I think they're going to be I understand they're on the road here, but UTEP has returning talent, good quarterback leadership, and I think it's going to be close. I think Scotty Walden is a stud, and Austin Peay was no joke last year. I don't know. I don't know if it'll be on my card, but I will tell you that UTEP is a good team, and one of the biggest public favorites this year on Utah State. And that's the reason why you should listen to Craig and us, because you would have never known about Scotty Walden if it wasn't for us. None of these other shows are going to tell you this from this type of odds perspective, and you will only get it here. So you're not completely, but if you're not listening to our show at the bare minimum, along with others, that is a big mistake. So outside of that, Craig, Southeast Louisiana facing Louisiana Tech on a total of 49.5. Who do you like, Craig?
Yeah, Coach Sonny Cumbie's on the hot seat here in Louisiana Tech. I think his first year, I think it's been this 4th or 5th year, he went to the bowl. Since then, it's just not been what I thought he could do there. And I just don't like this team. This Louisiana Tech team, it continues to let me down as a bettor. Southeast Louisiana had a very good season last year. It's just a solid program. I don't know if they'll win the game outright, but I think this is going to be a scare for Louisiana Tech. Take Southeast Louisiana here, plus the 13.5. Next game, Missouri State at USC. Hot seats here, of course, for USC, minus 35, total 59.5. What do you like here?
Well, USC comes into this game. They won their opener against LSU, which was a surprise, right? They also beat Texas A&M 35-31. I am not a huge fan of the, USC coaching base, if you will. And this game could go either way. To be honest, I believe it on the ATS spread side of the ball. Missouri State is sort of a brand new program trying to do well here. So keep that in mind and perspective too. So look, I think USC is obviously heavily favored here. Missouri State, they were 8-4. Coach Ryan Beard here. They have some decent talent coming back too. But I just don't. I'm just not a huge fan of USC, and I think Missouri State is going to get up for this game a little bit. Obviously, you're going to have to get up for this game. And then you have USC coming in this game after this contest. USC has a pretty generous schedule early on if you look at it. Missouri State, Georgia Southern, Purdue. I think they're going to be sleepwalking for a while. And I'm going to take Missouri State here on a bit of a surprise here. So, of course, they could absolutely destroy them too. So it's just a small lead. So keep that in mind. So Georgia State comes into this game against Ole Miss as a 35-point dog on a total of 60. Who do you like, Craig?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a very good Ole Miss team. I think Ole Miss and Texas A&M are going to be fighting for the last berth from the SEC to go to the playoffs this year. I just think both of these teams are going to be better. A lot of people think with losing Jackson Dart, they're going to be no. This kid Austin, I forget his last name, but I hear he is the real deal. And Lane Kiffin is a mastermind at putting his players in, so that they shine, and his teams on offense. I lay the 35. Georgia State was like 3-6-1, I believe, if I looked at it right last year to finish the year against the spread. 2-8 straight up. Ole Miss hangs a number, and they're going to be celebrating in the Grove in this one early and often. Eastern Michigan at Texas State's the next game we're looking at, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Texas State favored by 13.5, total 58.5. What do you like here?
Well, Texas State is not a bad team, right? This is a team that beat Troy last year. They beat Arkansas State badly last year, 41-19. They beat South Alabama 45-38. They beat North Texas in their bowl game too, and that's pretty impressive. So you combine that here with let me pull up something here real fast. Yeah. So I was pretty high on Texas State, to close out last year. I know Eastern Michigan is a well-known team, et cetera, but Texas State, I'm telling you, man, they are not a bad team at all. This is a team that really closed the year very strong, covering their last 3 out of 4 games heading into the bowl game. They didn't have a particularly great bowl game, but they did win. I think this is a team that returns quite a bit of talent here. Texas State is a team that has a very good coaching staff. You'd be surprised. And I'm going to back Texas State here. I just think Eastern Michigan lost way too much talent from the previous year. So I like Texas State here. Portland State hooking up against BYU. BYU comes in as a 44.5 favorite on a total of 62.5. Who do you like, Craig?
Satake, the coach of BYU, is one of my favorite coaches to play as an underdog. Last year, we got a lot of opportunities early before everybody got on. But the problem in the offseason, they lost their what do they call him? BYU Jew or QB, the Retzlaff kid. He's headed to Tulane. That whole BYU thing where, this code of conduct that, you can't have premarital sex and all those things that they end up having to kick out star players. It's just like they're going to struggle to win if they don't change some of that there at BYU. I think it's a lot to ask. BYU is one of those teams I do not like to play as favorite, but I love playing them as an underdog. So for that reason, I'm leaning towards Portland State here. I think BYU will dominate, but you can dominate and win by 38, 39, 42. Give me Portland State plus all the points. ACU at Tulsa here. Tulsa favored by 5.5, total of 63.5. I cannot believe they're only favored by 5.5. What do you like here?
Man, Tulsa really struggled last year. They lost their last 4 games. They lost the last 7 of 8 games. They have a head coach here in Trey Lamb who enters his first season here. ACU has Coach Keith Patterson, right? Graham Harrell, by the way, is their offensive coordinator. Remember Graham Harrell? Yeah. So I think ACU people don't realize Abilene Christian has a good sports culture. Believe it or not, Abilene Christian has a good sports culture. They have a team that actually does quite well here, and I think they're going to play really well. ACU returns 7 of their top 12 tacklers from last season as well. They also has offensively Stone Earl, a quarterback with prior FBS experience, was named the quarterback. Tulsa comes into this here having a lot of defensive challenges. They only have 1 defensive starter coming back, Craig. Tulsa does in Keon Parker. And, I think they're going to struggle a little bit here. And I think given the ACU's strong defensive unit, experienced quarterback, I think they're going to give Tulsa some real issues here. And I'm going to back ACU and Coach Keith Patterson here to do well. So moving on here from the ACU Tulsa game to Lamar versus North Texas. Lamar coming in as a 24.5 point underdog on a total of 63.5. Who do you like, Craig?
Well, North Texas was a good team early last year and then finished the year 1-6, both straight up, and then 2-5 against the spread. I mean, they really hit the skids last year. And it's a tough team because they lost a lot. Well, I mean, everybody seems like they've lost a lot. I like Lamar to cover in this spot. I just think North Texas, even though they were good early last year, and those teams that sometimes that are good early are kind of build up. But that's a lot to ask to look past the way North Texas struggled down the stretch. And I think Coach Eric Morris is maybe on the hot seat if he doesn't turn it around this year. So I think this is a tough spot for them to cover this big number. Don't forget, use that promo code TRAPPBOY, TRAPPBOY, to save 10% off. Next game, Rice and UL or Louisiana Lafayette, as they say, depending on, I know they don't like to be called that anymore. ULL, they don't like that. But favorite by 11.5, Louisiana is total 47. What do you like here?
Yeah, I mean, look, Rice is known for the triple option, right? And this is a Rice team, but I want to speak a little bit more on Louisiana here. Rice, beat this team back in 2022. So Louisiana has a little bit of revenge here, of course. Louisiana Lafayette started the season last year on a barnstorm. They were so good last year. They beat Wake Forest at one point. They beat App State as well. This team beat Texas State as well, 23-17. This is a team that at one point was 8-1, and then they ended the season 10-2. But then they lost to Marshall 3-31 in an ugly game. Then they lost to TCU in their bowl game 3-34. Not a great way to finish. They barely lost one game last year, nevertheless losing back-to-back games. And I think that's going to motivate this team. Of course, Rice comes in under Coach Scott Abel, really struggling in their program. They struggled last year. He's got a triple option here. Louisiana coach Michael Desmareaux, right? And, of course, he has that beautiful Ragin' Cajun name. That's probably why they hired him. But they got a pretty strong defensive unit as well. Rice only returns, Rice does return 4 or 5 offensive line starters. Probably that's their strength in the trenches, which leads you to believe they might be able to run the ball a little bit more effectively. But Louisiana returns 6 defensive starters. Obviously, they have a really good coach here, and they're looking to do well. That total came in at 47. So I like the under in this game, but I also like Louisiana Lafayette just because they're the better team. So moving on to Bryant here, facing New Mexico State on a total of 53.5, and Bryant favored by 19. Bryant is a 19.5 point dog. Who do you like, Craig?
I think sometimes you get these really small teams. You have to hang your hat on something. I think Tony Sanchez, I believe that's coach of, I think it's Tony Sanchez, right? Yeah, Tony Sanchez at New Mexico State. I just think he's better than what his record indicates. That his teams have improved. Unfortunately, it's like they're just losing by less. And at some point, you either got to get over the hump or kind of, shit or get off the pot kind of thing. So I think this is kind of the do or die season for him. In saying that, I think they kind of want to hang a number here to at least kick off the season right. So let's take New Mexico State minus 19.5. I think maybe they run it up late as they try to show that they've kind of breaking through. Georgia Southern at Fresno State's the next game, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Georgia Southern, believe it or not, is the favorite, minus 1.5, total 52. What do you like here?
Yeah, a little surprised here considering that Fresno State only, they lost back-to-back games just twice. And, they lost to NIU, 20-28 in their bowl game in overtime. They lost to UCLA 13-20. This is a team that ended the last year, pretty well. Obviously, Fresno State lost their opener as well to Kansas 7-31. So maybe they have obviously Kurt Warner's kid coming in, who is playing on this team right now. But Georgia Southern, is a team that they expect a lot of things out of Georgia Southern, that fan base. And Georgia Southern, by the way, will play USC at some point, after this game too. And this is a team that Southern actually played really well last year. They lost to Sam Houston State 26-31, but I'm high on Sam Houston State. It's a team that played Ole Miss and lost 13-52 as well. It's a team that played Boise State and lost 45-56 and beat Nevada 20-17. So Southern is a good team. People are expecting, and obviously the rest of the two, people are expecting more out of Southern this year. So I'm going to take Southern here. I think this is a team that not a lot of people have given Fresno State much of a chance here, but I want you to know that, Coach Clay Helton is in his 4th year, a little bit of pressure on him too. And I think Southern is going to shock a lot of people. I like Georgia Southern. Northern Arizona here hooking up against Arizona State. Northern Arizona, 28.5 point dog on a total of 52.5, Craig. Both teams obviously in the state of Arizona. Who do you like here?
I love Coach Dillingham. I mean, if you don't watch anything this year, follow him. Follow him on Twitter. I mean, the dude is just a soundbite. He's always recruiting players or money and fans to come to their games. And it's just like, but he's from there. He's not going anywhere. Unless he goes maybe to coach Arizona Cardinals football in the NFL. I just think he's an Arizona guy. He wants to stay there. I like what he's done. Is a lot of points. And I mean, everyone in the brother remembers what they were last year. For that reason, you have to think this is – I thought it should be more like 23, 24 and a half type numbers. I think you're getting extra points here. This is the way I'd play this game. If you like Arizona State, you play them in the first half minus the points. If you like the full game, you play the underdog plus the 28 and a half. I think they could maybe call off the dogs late. But that's the way I play this game. Not a game you should be putting a ton on, though. Idaho at Washington State. I think this is a better than advertised game. This Washington State team favored by 13 and a half, total 50 and a half. What do you like here?
Well, when Washington State opened up against Portland State last year, they were a 26-point favorite, and they won 70-30. Okay, and they opened the season at 4-0. The thing is that Idaho is not a bad team. Of course, I say that, and it's Idaho, so don't hold it against me. But Washington State, lost to Syracuse to close out last year. Washington State ended last year not well. They lost to New Mexico, they lost to Oregon State, they lost to Wyoming, and they lost to Syracuse. And that Wyoming loss was ugly. They were 18.5-point favorites in that game, and they lost. And you might be surprised to see Idaho only as a small dog. And that's because head coach here, Thomas Ford, enters his first season for the Vandals. Washington State, of course, has Jimmy Rogers. He begins his tenure as his coach, if you will. The Vandals were ranked 12th in the nation at one point when it comes to your FCS rankings, right? So that's not bad either. They have a pretty good defense under coordinator Cord Dennison as well. Washington State, of course, brings back quite a bit of talent. But here's the thing. Idaho has a strong defense. They have a strong offensive line. I think they're going to be obviously they're going to get up for this game too. And I think they're going to get up for this game and do quite well. So put that into perspective. And Washington State, keep in mind that after this game, they will have a contest against San Diego State, which is going to be really important. They might be prepping for that. But I'm going to back Idaho here to surprise some people, to hang tough, especially this is a team that is used to success in the FCS. So I wouldn't be surprised if they hang tough here. Cal coming in as a plus 1.5-point dog to Oregon State. Craig, Cal, a total of 50.5 here. The public heavily on Oregon State as a small favorite. Who do you like here, Craig?
Kind of surprising. Last year, these two squared off 44-7. Cal won. You win that big, it kind of, will perception into the following year. Now, Cal lost a lot. They lost their starting quarterback. It's the who's who. It's like where's Waldo off of last year's team. There's not a lot of returning players. But Oregon State, remember, now that they're kind of, they're in the Pac-12 and they're reforming the Pac-12, but it's teams that nowhere near the competition like we remember in the Big 12. I just think it's a lot to ask for Oregon State. They were not a great team last year. And I know Cal lost a lot, but I have belief that Cal will win this game plus 1.5. I know there's a big revenge factor, but I'm still taking Cal in this one. Hawaii at Arizona. Of course, Hawaii, big win last week to open the season against Stanford. Now they face Arizona on the road, favored by Arizona by 17.5, total 52.5. Will you like Hawaii here?
No. and I think it's because that Hawaii obviously played great against Stanford, which was a win. It's two different games, right? Hawaii faced a Stanford team that was going through a lot of changes, right? You have a GM in Andrew Luck of Stanford football who hired his former coach and Frank Reich of Indianapolis of the Colts. And now you have Arizona who comes in this game who has a little bit more to prove here. Obviously, don't get me wrong. I mean, Timmy Chang has done great, for this team, and he's led his team to some sort of prominence. They went from 3 wins to 5 wins last year. Arizona, do you know who Arizona's coach is? Take a wild guess. It's Brent Brennan, right? He revamped this roster. Coach Brennan is a Hawaii native. Okay. So he's facing Hawaii, right? A team that he knows relatively well. So this is he's looking up, try to improve upon last year's season as well. So keep that in mind. Arizona is a team that got absolutely clobbered by Arizona State to close out last year too. So I think when you put all that into perspective, I actually like Arizona here. I think that Coach Brennan will have this team. He's got a ton of transfers coming in as well. And I think Arizona is going to get up for this game. I do. And I think it actually, kind of works against Hawaii given how well they played against Stanford too. I think that works against them too. So I like Arizona. Colorado State here hooking up against Washington. Washington comes in as a 22.5 point favorite on a total of 54, Craig. Colorado State getting a lot of points here. But who knows? Washington could be better. So who do you like, Craig, as they tried to recover from Kalen DeBoer, who left obviously 2 years ago, and total of 54? Who do you like here, Craig?
I like this Desmond Williams, I think, is the new starting quarterback. At times last year, as a freshman, he had those flashes, and it's like now he had the full, spring practice and everything, and knowing he's going to be the man. I think this Washington team could be one of the more improved teams in the Big Ten, and I think they show it today. Now, are they good enough to cover a 21.5? It's the hook, Like if it was 21, I would be like, take Washington. I feel like at worst you'd get the push. The 21.5 scares me. So I think this would be one I either play the first half or I play it in a teaser or I buy the half a point. I just don't like that 21.5. I do think Washington, though, is going to be much improved this year. I think there's going to be one of those teams that be feisty underdogs this year. I believe 3 weeks they play Ohio State the end of September, maybe 4 weeks. And it's at Washington. I think that could be a big game where we see, are they for real or not? So that'll be interesting. But in this matchup, I'd either buy the half a point or play them in the first half, probably in Washington and Colorado State. Now, next game, as we finish, we rounding towards the end here, Utah at UCLA. UCLA, of course, has Nico, the transfer from big money transfer from Tennessee. Utah favorite by 6, total 51.5. Utah's been money for me in the last decade. Do you like them here?
Yeah, I do. I'm not a fan of Nico, and I like Utah here. I like Coach Whittingham, right? And he did a good job. He brought in, Devin Dampier from New Mexico, and he brought in offensive coordinator Jason Beck as well. The offensive line is considered to be one of the best they've had in many years, right? It's got seniors Caleb Alomu, Michael Mofinski. The defense, Utah's a great place because not a lot of guys leave Utah either. It's similar to what we talked about with Georgia Tech or with Northwestern. The Utes return key players too, like Cole Bishop and Snowden on the corner too. UCLA, of course, has coach Chip Kelly coming in here, and they returned 4 offensive and 2 defensive starters. Not a lot. They did pick up quarterback Nico. I think that with Utah has a revamped offense. Okay. They didn't play well last year. They did close out the year with a win against UCF. They have a good, strong defense, good offensive line here. And, and they're going to get up, right? They're going to absolutely get up to play over here in UCLA, which is obviously a wonderful place to play. And then if you take a look at UCLA too, UCLA did beat Fresno. But I'll tell you this, it doesn't look good for UCLA to be a 6-point dog to a team after UCLA beat Nebraska, beat Iowa, beat Rutgers. And so it's a little bit of a surprise that Utah comes in as a 6-point favorite, but I'm going to back Utah here. I think that is the right side. All right, Craig, you're right. We're winding down here, which is what's been an incredible.
That's it. That's Saturday's card.
Holy
These other ones are Sunday. So don't forget.
Here's my Mike's Hard Lemonade.
If you haven't done so, at the end of this video, you can click. We have the Thursday games. We have the Friday games. We're going to have the Sunday games. We're going to have the Monday games. So get those other videos right here. And if you haven't done so, put in the comments what you like or get in on our passes for this weekend. It's just $45 for a week pass for each of us. And you can use the 10% off code TRAPBOY now to get. If
you do nothing else, join us for Craig and I's football card this week. Right? If you appreciated the video, join us for the football card this week and join us for our YouTube premium, right? Because you get a video from us every day. You get to hang out with us. It becomes a part of your life. You see our YouTube premium video, which is better than our regular video. And then our premium plays at Doc Sports, our YouTube premium, and, watch our shows all the time. So there you go.
All right. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.